Nothing could be wrong.
What about Ukraine? What about Jordan? You see Zelensky?
Pieter, die andere deur gaan nu ook open ziet, dus misschien dat het verschil is. Dat is het van een ja, het is daar heel goed staan.
Aí eles dizem meu gosto.
Estonia.
Good morning, everybody. Today is an important day. Allies are discussing amongst ourselves about the NATO future, about Ukraine. I want to make some points. The first thing is we need to get rid of this hesitation that Russia cannot lose. Russia can lose and Russia must lose. So we need to support Ukraine. We need to give all needed military support to Ukraine right now. And also we need to secure that the Ukraine will survive the winter. Ukrainians are fighting heavily right now. They have willingness to fight and we need to support them. The second thing is about the security guarantees. Everybody's talking about security guarantees. I see too many peace initiatives. I counted them, more than 27 different peace initiatives. But the case is that Putin has not changed the goal. So we need to put Putin to change the goal. And the goal is now to destroy Ukraine, not to gain more territories. So it's obvious. Third thing, this is not anymore the Russian aggression against Ukraine only. We see the North Korean troops fighting in Europe. So Putin has changed totally the core of this aggression. This is global already. So we need to deal with that as well and understand that this is not only for supporting Ukraine, but it's much more wider question. Fourth thing, we need to increase our defense spendings. We're going to discuss it today, and Estonia is going to make a proposal that minimum will be 2.5%, minimum. And I do hope that in The Hague, NATO summit, we're going to decide that as well. And finally, we're going to discuss as well the Russian report or strategy, and we need to understand that Russia will remain a threat. Russia will remain a threat. NATO is a defensive organization. We are not attacking anybody, but we need to understand that if we give the security guarantees, that Ukraine must be in NATO. The only working security guarantee which is working really is NATO. I haven't seen any other in the world right now. So we need to understand that it's not only about Ukraine to give the guarantees to Ukraine, but also we are building up the European security architecture. So if we need to have the long-lasting peace in Europe, though we need to give an opportunity for everybody, all these nations who want to join NATO, this opportunity. So it has been very clear from the past as well that the neutrality or the grey areas close to the Russian border, it is just a green light for Putin to move forward. So these are the main points for today.
You said it's NATO or nothing for Ukraine.
Sorry?
Can Ukraine really join NATO while part of its territory is still open?
It is possible. We have the West Germany case from the past. But before that, we need to support Ukraine to win the war until the victory. So Ukraine has not asked our troops in right now. Ukraine is asking our military support, air defense. We had a dinner yesterday with the foreign minister of Ukraine. It is very clear what they need. Good thing is that actually we have these capabilities. We have money. We have capabilities to give Ukraine. So if we would have given everything what we have gave up to date, like 2.5 years, within the first year, everything would have been already done, and Russia has been put back to Russia. So we need to understand that this is crucial momentum right now, and I think that this understanding is there. I saw yesterday our allies that the understanding is there.
It was a wild day yesterday in South
My question
Korea.
goes to Georgia again.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is Georgia a target of Russian hybrid attacks?
It's hard to say what is hybrid. Hybrid is everything that Russia is using for influencing neighboring countries, governments, elections. But it is unfortunately pretty obvious that the ruling party is not guiding the Georgian people towards European Union, other way, towards Russia. So what are these exact connections there on political level, business level? It's hard to say right now, especially I think that maybe you know even better. But it's an unfortunate thing, and Estonia has been very clear about supporting Georgian people, also Georgian these aspirations towards European Union. We have been, I think, one of the strongest supporters of that, and we will continue. And also Georgian people, they have all the right to demonstrate peacefully on the street, to speak up, and I've said many times that these elections, they doesn't see that they were just and honest elections. So the change of course is not following actually everything what Georgian people have agreed, and also from European Union side. We have delivered everything. We have delivered the visa liberation, we have delivered funds, we have agreed the next steps, but the next European Foreign Council will discuss the Georgian topic. So we have the Georgian option paper on the table from the European Commission. There are many steps that EU can do from our side as well, as a ban for the high officials, as a visa liberation questions, and many other things. So the European Union is taking the situation very seriously.
South Korea is a very important NATO partner. How concerned are you that the current political events might bring more instability in the region?
Of course, I'm not commenting exactly what happened yesterday in South Korea, but it was obvious that democracy worked very efficiently. So there was a voting in Parliament. Parliament took a control over the constitutional situation, though now it's a question what is going to follow. But I'm really sorry with South Korea because democracy worked immediately.
Your proposal for a new target for defense expenditure, what time trajectory are you proposing?
We have adopted the NATO defense plans and the regional plans as well. Estonia is already put in this year 3.4% of GDP, and in addition of that, on top of that, we have 1.6 billion euros worth investment program. So it is going up to 4% for the next year, even maybe more. And these plans, if we see them, 2% is not enough. We are not fulfilling these caps what we need to fulfill. So 2.5% must be minimum. Maybe even 3%. For us, it will be really, really good thing. And we will propose it for the next summit in The Hague. I hope that this is a place where the allies must decide.
And when should the alliance reach this new target?
I do hope that, that next year or the year later. But of course, it's a discussion amongst allies, and also it's a political decisions of every country. But I want to assure one thing. GDP is an honest figure. GDP is measuring actually the burden, what is one or the other country's economy and people and societies are carrying. So I don't agree that if Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, we are closer to the aggressor, that our economies, that we can pay more and the others cannot pay. No, we have as well the pensioners, we have the social system, we have education system, we have all the same things as all the other nations. But we need to understand that Russia is a threat. We need to understand that we need to invest more to defense, to enjoy the freedom. So it is doable, but it needs the political decision. So from Estonian perspective, we already do it. Poland is putting this year 4.3% of GDP and increasing next year. And Poland is a big economy, a big country. So everybody else must do it, and they can do it. So, good. Have a nice day.
It's going to be you, right?
No, it's not here. He'll be here, but not.
No, not this one. Okay.
Who is the British Foreign Minister right now?
It's a guy that was not attending this.
Not cleverly. Cleverly was
EMP.
Thank you.
It's David Lamy. David Lamy, but he was not attending yesterday.
Yes.
Okay.
convinced?
I don't want to go yet.
No. They were not sure themselves who's the minister. You are, no, I am.
Common problem in
Oh,
France.
forgotten. It's not
Common
in the
problem
car.
in France and Belgium. Who's in charge? I don't know. I do some job. I don't know. I did yesterday.
They forgot to load him. He was not in the car.
He's still eating breakfast. Still drinking coffee.
Okay, now I understand your jackets. The door's open.
Yeah. Good morning, Minister. One quick question, please.
Morning.
Finland. Sova. Yeah.
So, good morning. Very productive meetings yesterday and a very good dinner. Well, obviously, what has to be noted is that Russia, unfortunately, is posing a multi-domain strategic long-term threat to the alliance and I would say to entire world peace. This is of course what we are tackling with, and also in relation to this we have to note two things. First of all, there is no quick fix to the war in Ukraine. Well, first of all, it is not just about Ukraine. We know that Russia has very maximalist goals on its agenda, so therefore we have to be very aware of that and also show unity in our response. And the second thing is of course that Russia is not only fighting itself, but it has strong allies or at least strategic partners in its war effort, which also has to be taken extremely seriously. At the same time, this is not hopeless. The war economy in Russia is showing very serious cracks to the extent that the inflation is obviously much higher than than I guess, the reported figures. Otherwise, the central bank would not have been forced to raise the rate to 21% even, which is a sign of ongoing capital flight, not only, typical capital as in currency, but also human capital, which of course spells trouble for the long-term future of Russia. So in the short term, it unfortunately doesn't help what comes to the battlefield, so we have to be just stronger. Also in putting economic sanctions pressure, especially on Russia, but secondly also aiding Ukraine even stronger than we have been able thus far. And Finland is preparing its 26th sanctions package as well, also as the European Union, but defense material assistance package, yes, number 26. And we are one of the strongest providers of military aid to Ukraine as a relation to GDP. And finally, I think we should definitely look into also making use of the central bank assets of Russia, in total 300 billion euros, not just the proceeds, which of course is a very welcome and first step in this effort, because the immense suffering that Russia has been causing is of course beyond measurement in euros. But the second thing is of course that they have destroyed civilian infrastructure and other infrastructure which is much larger in amount than the total amount of the assets. So looking forward to the discussions today.
What more can you tell us about the cable damage between Finland and Sweden?
Well, apparently the one yesterday, we don't think there was a crime behind it. It was apparently just happening on a construction site, so things like these happen. So this also means that even though there's a very massive hybrid and also sabotage campaign going on by Russia in basically all European countries, it's very important as well that we investigate before we, call wolf.
You discussed hybrid attacks today. What more should NATO members be doing to combat this?
Well, I think there are so many good efforts going on already. First of all, the establishment of the NATO Center for Critical Subsea Infrastructure, established in the summer. Also, we are working on a common response, and also, especially what comes to resilience, that means that we have to be so much stronger in recovering. And also what comes to the cable, cut between Finland and Sweden yesterday, but the one a week or two ago between Finland and Germany and Sweden and Lithuania, all those cables have been fixed already. So even though this is of course not desirable that we have, especially if there's an outside state power behind these, of course we have to tackle with that and also be stronger in attribution. But the second thing is that we also need to recover as societies.
Do you think that NATO allies have the necessary capacities to sufficiently protect critical infrastructure? Because what we see is that most of the states are, touched a little bit unprepared. Many things of these are within national realms. What comes to resilience and the sort of the what I would call the sort of thorough security. But of course, what we can do together and what we need to do together is share information, also do the attribution bit, especially if we have strong evidence that we have a state actor behind things. And of course, what comes to hybrid warfare, our response cannot be symmetric, because we wouldn't go and do acts of sabotage ourselves. We are remaining in the limits of international law, but our response can be asymmetric, and which also means in this regard, as I said earlier, keeping up the sanctions pressure, economic pressure on Russia, aiding Ukraine, because essentially we are then deterring against the same hostile actor.
Do you see any risk in drawing conclusions too fast on events like yesterday's case? Do you think this went wrong yesterday?
Well, I wasn't drawing any conclusions. At least the official Finland wasn't doing that, and we are used to taking things calm and investigating, finding the facts, and working based on facts.
On South Korea, the country is a very important partner to NATO as well in the region. Are you worried that with the current political events, there might be even more instability in the region?
Of
course, I'm a little bit worried, and these scenes we are witnessing now in South Korea is not something anybody would have wanted to see. But we just hope that they will find a quick path to stability, but also based on the values that we share, so democracy, the rule of law, and of course the freedom of people. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Minister.
This is okay this morning? Well, yesterday we had a conversation. With Ukrainian Foreign Minister. I think it was very useful to hear the opinion of how they see the situation in Ukraine. From my perspective, I think that we usually what need to do is to shatter certain illusions that are being spread around. You know, one of the illusions is that somehow it is possible to settle the war in Ukraine outside the battlefield. And therefore, I think it's very important to say that the war itself, the conflict itself, will only be settled in the battlefield. As strong as Ukraine can be in the battlefield, as strong it will be one day in the negotiating table. There is no other way around. There is an illusion that we cannot somehow supply Ukraine with everything that it needs, and therefore we're just digging in the dirt, trying to find a couple of €100 million or dollars in order to support Ukraine. But when you look at the conflicts that have been in the recent past, take Afghanistan, take Iraq, we spent trillions, literally trillions in those wars. So when you compare how much did we spend on Ukraine, it's a fraction. So I think it's an illusion to say that we are unable to supply Ukraine with what it needs. And lastly, when we say that it's impossible to provide the security guarantees to Ukraine, again, I think it's an illusion. If we want to have peace in Ukraine, there is no other way around. We will have to supply security guarantees. And from where we stand, there is no better, no cheaper way of supplying security guarantees than actual NATO Article 5 security guarantees.
Do you share your Estonian colleagues' assessment that it's that or nothing for Ukraine?
That is
NATO membership or nothing. You mentioned
well, look, I mean, there are options, right? One can talk about South Korean option or Japan option, where United States on a bilateral basis provides security guarantees. But usually what they are way more costly, they are way more politically difficult to establish because they require certain elements of deterrence in the country which gets those security guarantees. Take South Korea, for example. 2 divisions of U.S. soldiers for 70 years. So this is the security guarantee that we're talking about. NATO has ability to deter because we're a big group. So my sense is that it's actually the easiest way forward. I mean, we can talk about other options, but they're not easier.
You mentioned South Korea there. You're concerned at the situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's apart from yesterday's events, which were which are shocking, to be honest. But I mean, still, historic example stands.
Minister, how can you appreciate what's happening in Georgia? The latest events in Georgia. You imposed sanctions against the high individuals, also Kuzinov and Shirley. What was your first thought when you found out that Georgian Dream refused to join the European Union for the next 4 years? And why did you make that decision?
Look, first of all, the decision itself, it's words, but deeds came before. Usually it's first is the word, but in this case, Georgian Dream and the government had made multiple steps to tell Europeans that they no longer wish to be in Europe. Take the law of foreign agents. Take the decisions that have been made. About LGBTQI community in the country, and so many other things that have been done before they actually named what it is. What it is they're trying to do. They're trying to get Georgia out of the path to EU. So, honestly, I was not that much surprised. It was a natural consequence of everything that they have been doing. Therefore, so, I mean, but it was a very clear message to Georgian people, and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. Now, when it comes to the sanctions, I think that the level of violence that is being used against the protesters, it's unacceptable. And it's not the first time. And I think that there has to be, at least a message. And I'm happy that Baltic states, we managed to agree on a certain list that was announced, and that means that I know that it's symbolic, but I hope that it works as a push for other allies, for European Union to do the same thing.
Minister, will you take some additional steps against Georgia, for example, with a suspension of the regime or
Well,
something like that?
yeah, well, look, these decisions are made in the European level. So we're constantly discussing this. I'm happy that the next FAC, Foreign Affairs Council, Georgia will be as a full question. I know that new High Rep, Kaja Kallas, is ready to present an option list as to what can be presented to in that direction. Lithuania will support additional measures for this regard. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So another busy day in front of us with the session at 32 ministers, so NATO's own internal discussion, preparing NATO Hague summit. So we will concentrate, of course, on the threats and what NATO does about the threats that are there for the Euro-Atlantic security. Before that, we meet as Nordic Baltic Group with the German foreign minister and the Polish foreign minister, so the Council of Baltic Sea States, in fact. But discussing obviously also what is important and concentrating on how to contain, constrain and contest Russia. Yesterday we had a very good dinner with the Ukrainian foreign minister, very open discussion, sometimes heated discussions on various views, various angles. So that is where we are today, and the alliance is as strong as ever. The Secretary General told about his meeting with President-elect Trump about the need to increase defense financing, so I think that message has come back to all the capitals. Latvia is already planning 3.5% of GDP for defense, plus internal security, plus the borders, plus everything that is needed as the external border country for the EU and NATO. I thank you.
Minister, you mentioned the discussions being heated. Why were they heated?
Because people are like a family. They exchange views, and sometimes in the family the views not always are the same, so you exchange those views, and sometimes there are higher tones than other times. So it was good. But it was a good discussion. It was really good discussion.
NATO needs a new hybrid strategy. What concretely are the points that you would like to see in there?
As I said, I don't like the word hybrid because there's nothing hybrid about certain types of sabotage attacks, or what we have seen with regard to the undersea infrastructure damage and so on and so forth. So those are indeed part of the toolbox that certain actors use to influence our populations, influence governments, create insecurities, or undermine certain way how we function. So we just have to be very aware, exchange information as much as possible among our internal agencies, have our security services aware, and make sure that they communicate to the population so that there is no misunderstanding and that people actually know that they are protected. I think that is a very important element. Thank you.
Could hybrid attacks
I
also
see you later.
Article 5?
I see you later.
Thank you. Sorry.
Good morning. So after what we can label as an excellent discussion yesterday, we continue the ministerial meeting. Today we will be focusing on strategic issues. Today we will be focusing on issues such as security in Europe. We will be able to speak about our collective defense spending. We are a nation that is achieving the goal of at least 2% of GDP on defense spending, but that obviously is a sum that will continuously need to go up in light of current global circumstances. We will need to speak about strengthening the capacities of our defense industries. This is also a very important issue. How we will approach Russia in light of what is currently going on the ground in Ukraine, but on a global level as well. We will also be focused on the Hague Summit. I think there will be crucial decisions that will need to be made in the upcoming period in preparation for the Hague Summit, as it is. And also, I think we need to speak today about the situation in the Western Balkans. What we are extremely happy about is that NATO recognizes the Western Balkans as a region of strategic importance. And in that sense, there are worries in this region that also need to be dealt with when it comes to the stability of the European continent.
How concerned are you about hybrid attacks?
We are very concerned about hybrid attacks because we have seen hybrid attacks in most of the Western Balkan countries in the last few months and years, especially coming from the obvious malign actors that exist. And this is an issue that is of crucial importance to us and something that we will also be addressing and have addressed in the past period.
What specifically should NATO members be doing then to increase resilience?
We are speaking on a strategic level, discussing with our partners, taking concrete steps and policies to counter the challenges that we have in front of us. But I think that this is an issue that must be tackled not individually by the member states, but something that we have to have a collective policy on.
Minister, about Georgia, please. Latest events in Georgia.
Excuse me?
It's been 6 days that people are protesting that Georgian government refused to join the European Union for the next 4 years. What was your first thought when you found out that after the candidacy status, Georgian government halted this process?
So I spoke about this yesterday as well. I received this question. When it comes to Georgia, the similarities that we have is that we are both nations that want to join the European Union. We are a member of NATO, but we are not yet a member of the European Union. And we believe that a common European future is something that we should all strive for, because those are the fundamental values that we need to push forward to broaden our approach towards a more successful society. Thank you.
Yes, you just go like this. You can't stand directly in front of us. You can go back there. You can get low here. You can be right here if you'd like to be in the middle. But to stand right there doesn't work for anybody. Thank you. There's chairs.
we're living in very dangerous times, and as we look across the world with war here on our continent in Europe, with the tremendous aggression that we're seeing across the Middle East, with the hand of Iran so present in the Middle East, and with this rising conflict in Sudan and now in Syria, there is one country whose hand is in so much of it, and that is Russia. And that is why, as we meet here discussing these important issues, it's hugely important that we step up defence spending across NATO allies particularly. In the United Kingdom, we are at 2.3%, heading to 2.5% as soon as we can get there. And we urge all allies across the NATO family to get serious about defence spending. All of our populations require us to understand the tremendous security challenges that we are facing at this time. The time to act is now.
How concerned are you that the current events?
He's coming, yes.
Yeah, I'm going to stand on your side. On the other side. Not what you need. Everybody can take his shot. Come in, just knocking into the door.
Here. Good morning. Hello. Good to see you again. This morning we will have a meeting, as you know, of NATO foreign ministers. We will discuss the escalating campaign of Russia's hostile actions against NATO countries. What we are seeing is that Russia, but also China, are trying to destabilize NATO nations through acts of sabotage, cybercrime, and of course also trying to make energy, weaponize energy in the fight between, of course, our systems. And we have to discuss how we will defend ourselves. And that means that we will look at ways to have better intelligence sharing, but also making sure that we can protect our critical infrastructure. Yesterday, as you know, we met with His Majesty, the King of Jordan, which was a great occasion. He updated us on the situation in the Middle East, and particularly we discussed Iran and the role Iran is playing in the region, getting money from Russia, which is then used to fuel the efforts by Hamas and Hezbollah to destabilize the region. But of course also the situation in Syria itself was discussed, and the overall Middle East. And last night we had our dinner together with Kaja Kallas of the European Union, but also the Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Andriy Sybiu. And it was a very good dinner. We discussed what we can do collectively to make sure that, one, Ukraine has the air defense it needs, also to protect its critical infrastructure and energy infrastructure. And secondly, how to make sure that Ukraine will get to a position of strength so that then Ukraine can start talks about its future in the region.
About Georgia.
We'll start over here on the right, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Mohammed with Al-Ittihad. Could you please, in latest meeting with His Majesty King Abdullah comes at a very interesting time, very interesting meetings, including in Syria. Could you please provide more insights into the outcomes of the meeting and what plans do you have for increased engagement with Jordan and ICI partners?
This was a great occasion for us to again sit down with His Majesty. Of course, he is a great friend of NATO. He has been here many times before. We are opening, as you know, a NATO liaison office in Amman, graciously made possible by Jordan, and to listen to his insights on what is happening in the region, not just in Jordan and in the Middle East, but also the impact all of this has, for example, on North Africa and also on Syria. That was extremely helpful. Foreign ministers were able to ask questions, so this was a good debate, a good discussion, not aimed at concrete decisions, but really to learn from him, to get his insights. And again, we were all really very happy that he was there and was willing to do this.
Okay, to the gentleman over there, please. Yeah.
Euronews, Georgia. Sir, it is alleged that Russian hybrid actions had effect on Georgia's election and also in Moldova. And could you share your opinion regarding to this subject, and what do you think, how can NATO counter these Russian hybrid attacks, which aims also NATO countries and also neighbors and partners of NATO?
No, clearly we condemn every interference in the free elections in NATO countries. We're also very worried, of course, of what happened in Moldova. We are very happy about the outcome, that still the election was taking place. Clearly there was interference, but at the same time the Moldovan authorities were able to conduct the elections in line with their democratic principles. On Georgia, of course, our worry, of course, is on what is happening in Georgia itself. We are really following the events. We very much encourage Georgia to come back and go back on its path of Euro-Atlantic integration with the European Union, with NATO. But we are really worried and following the events taking place in Georgia. And when it comes to election interference from anyone, that is unacceptable.
Okay, the gentleman, sorry. The gentleman to the right, please, with the blue scarf, and then ANP after that. Thank you. Go ahead. Please introduce yourself before you ask a question.
Secretary General, good morning. Billy Duncan from DW.
Good morning.
How concerned are you about what's happening in South Korea, a key Indo-Pacific ally for NATO?
Well, obviously we are following events. South Korea is part of our Indo-Pacific partnership with South Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, and that means that we are very much interested in how this will develop. But I'm not going to comment on internal South Korean situation.
Okay, ANP.
On South Korea again, leading a democratic alliance, is it necessary to condemn undemocratic behavior from an ally, an important ally like South Korea?
Yes, of course, they are not part of NATO, but they are a very important friend of us. We work very closely together in the partnership, together also with Japan, Australia and New Zealand, and that means that we are following step by step and from moment to moment what is happening. But at this moment I do not want to comment. Let's first see how the Koreans are able to cope with this situation, and if necessary there might be further comments later.
Okay, thank you very much. The lady with the red scarf.
Laura Costa from ARD. How concerned are you that the political chaos in South Korea might be beneficial to China to actually bring even more instability to the region?
Again, what we know is what you know and what we see on television. We are really following the events in the Republic of Korea and South Korea step by step, and we are very much interested in how this will evolve further. I don't want to comment now because the Koreans are themselves at this moment trying to stabilize the situation. And if necessary you will hear more from me, but you can be assured that for us that relationship with South Korea is key. Our relationship is ironclad, together with Japan, Australia, New Zealand. That will not change.
Okay, we'll take one last question. Lady on the left, yeah, please introduce yourself.
Yes.
Discussed at the NATO European Council, and maybe there were any decisions on these issues?
No, this was absolutely discussed. As you know, we try to do everything we can to help Ukraine in making sure they can fight back what the Russians are doing with their full onslaught on Ukraine, unprovoked, and at the same time we have to make sure that whatever air defense we can give them is being supplied to Ukraine. This is happening over the last 2.5 years. All the first 1,000 days of this awful full onslaught of Russia, we have been able to provide many air defense systems into Ukraine. And now there is a specific need on the energy infrastructure, because what Russia is trying to do is to weaponize winter again in this fight against Ukraine. So this was discussed last night. As you know, in the world we do not have a sort of overflow of supply of air defense systems, so that means that you always have to make sure that you prioritize. But there was a clear agreement on the table last night that to help Ukraine, particularly with its infrastructure, has to be a priority. And I'm confident that allies will follow up in the coming days and weeks in making sure that whatever they can supply to Ukraine will be supplied.
Okay, thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. See you later at the post-ministerial press conference.
Yeah.
Misschien gewoon hier aan deze kant te persen. Ja, dat is toch goed? Nee, dat hoor. Hier, dat is goed. Ga je niet meer komen. Dus die zit goed hier.
Ja, als het niet veel technisch lijkt me dat makkelijk is van niet.
Ja, maar die...
Ja, je hebt wel die petje natuurlijk.
Ik zie van die camera's. Ja, ja, ja.
Maar omdat nu...
Nee, nee, nee. no meterme ahí a tocarlo, creo que no es la cosa. Entonces, bueno, tampoco está tan alto, lo estoy viendo, pero es que está muy alto. Está más bajo incluso de lo que era un poco bueno. Yo creo que está alto.
Guten Morgen. Nein, die haben alle gestern gegessen. Aber sind gut angekommen.
Möchten Sie mit uns sprechen? Oder?
Was wollen Sie mir jetzt sagen?
Also die NATO braucht eine neue hybride Strategie. Wie genau soll die aussehen?
Diese Frage haben Sie mir gestern gestellt. Da habe ich Ihnen schon gesagt, dass wir darüber reden müssen. Wir haben gestern Abend ja auch zuerst ein Treffen gehabt mit dem jordanischen König und Erbprinz. Man soll wissen, dass, und das habe ich auch im Saal gesagt, dass vor allem, wenn jeder sagt, dass wir das, was in Gaza passiert, aufhören sollen, dass es auch im Saal Leute gibt, die mit Vetorechte alle internationalen Initiativen blockieren. Vor 10 Tagen war im Sicherheitsrat eine Abstimmung, 15 Mitgliedern, 14 haben dafür gestimmt, einer hat gevetot. Und diese Frage habe ich dem Herrn Blinken stellen müssen. Und wir haben auch auf europäischer Ebene Leute, die immer Schwierigkeiten haben, wenn wir irgendwas machen möchten, um mehr Frieden in Gaza probieren zu bekommen. Also ich will nicht sagen blockieren, aber es schwierig machen. Und für mich ist wichtig, dass wir da vorkommen. Es hat ja auch keinen Sinn, dass wir uns alle beschweren über die Situation. Und wenn es dann eine Möglichkeit gibt, um was zu stimmen, dann einer es nicht macht und alles blockiert.
Wie besorgt sind Sie über China und Chinas Sabotageversuche in Europa?
Ich war letzte Woche in China. Ich glaube, es ist wichtig, mit ihnen ehrlich zu sein, mit den Chinesen. Sie können nicht sagen, dass sie neutral waren. Ich habe auch dem Außenminister letzte Woche die Frage gestellt. Sie sagen ja, sie wären ja neutral mit Russland und Ukraine. Wann haben Sie zum letzten Mal den Zelensky in Beijing eingeladen? Und dann bin ich mal gespannt auf die Antwort.
Yesterday you had a dinner, and could you tell us, did you focus on Syria during the dinner?
I didn't had this opportunity to hear that. It was about Ukraine. We had before the discussions about Syria with the King of Jordan. Bye bye.
Good morning. Good morning. So today we continue with our NATO ministerial. We will have a discussion on Russia, on hybrid threats. This year there were 500 suspicious incidents in Europe. Up to 100 of them can be attributed to Russia, hybrid attacks, espionage, influence operations. We need to send a strong signal to Moscow that this won't be tolerated, and we can see also a price in the frequency of those attacks, so it is very dangerous. So this is my message for today. We have to continue to contain Russia.
Your country's been very strong in tackling hybrid threats. What would you like to see other NATO members do in this area?
Acknowledge it and to be ready to face it, to take different kind of measures. A lot of proposals is in the air. So, for example, Czechia proposed in the EU to limit the movement of Russian diplomats and the family members and technical staff. So things like that. Nothing new, but we just need to do it.
How concerned are you about Chinese involvement when it comes to hybrid attacks on NATO allies?
So this is the topic of cybersecurity and emerging technologies. I think it's clear that we need to be ready to protect our technologies and protect our cyber world. So yes, it is concerning. Yes? So in Czech. My jsme včera měli večeři, kde jsme diskutovali o tom, jak podporovat Ukrajinu, co můžeme udělat. Mluvilo se i o členství v NATO, nicméně plná shoda na tom nebyla. Uděláme to potom, jo? So any more English, please? Okay, thank you.
La grave situación que se está viviendo en Siria, también la esperanza que nos ofrece el alto el fuego en Líbano, que tenemos que consolidar, tiene que ir más allá de esos 60 días, pero puse encima de la mesa, y así lo reiteró también el rey de Jordania, que quien quiera esconderse y no ver la realidad puede hacerlo, pero la realidad es que mientras no haya una solución a la cuestión palestina, mientras que no haya un horizonte de esperanza para el pueblo palestino con un Estado palestino y que por lo tanto se implemente la solución de dos Estados, un Estado de Palestina y un Estado de Israel, que convivan en mutua buena vecindad y se garanticen prosperidad y seguridad, la violencia no conseguiremos erradicarla de Oriente Medio. Tuvimos también una cena de trabajo en la que acudió la alta representante. Hace unos días tuve ocasión de recibirla en Madrid y discutir los diferentes dosieres de política exterior, y también acudió nuestro colega ucraniano, que nos hizo una descripción de la situación, ese duro invierno que ya está en Ucrania, la destrucción sistemática de infraestructuras civiles dedicadas a producir energía, lo cual es una violación flagrante del derecho internacional por parte de Rusia, y analizamos básicamente cuál es la mejor forma, cuáles son las mejores herramientas para seguir ayudando a Ucrania en la defensa de su soberanía, de su democracia, de su libertad, de su integridad territorial. Dejé bien claro que tenemos que trabajar en ser previsibles en la entrega de armamento. Sin armamento es imposible que Ucrania ejerza su legítima defensa frente a la brutal agresión rusa. Armamento supone también financiación, y ahí hay unos activos rusos congelados sobre los que es legítimo preguntarse cuál es el mejor uso de ellos y la mejor forma de hacerlos. También el apoyo a la paz, porque tenemos que ayudar a Ucrania a ganar la guerra y tenemos que ayudar a Ucrania a ganar la paz. Y para que Ucrania gane la paz tenemos entre todos que definir qué es una paz justa. Para España una paz justa es una paz dentro de los principios de la Carta de las Naciones Unidas, y por supuesto también dejé claro que no se puede hablar de paz en ningún momento dejando fuera a Ucrania. Cualquier decisión, cualquier iniciativa que tenga como objetivo final la paz en Ucrania tiene que ser liderada por Ucrania, y la voz de Europa tiene que oírse, porque Europa ha estado junto a Ucrania todo el tiempo. Vamos ahora a una tercera sesión en la que analizaremos las distintas amenazas que acechan a los aliados de la OTAN. Hay muchas, algunas de ellas son híbridas, trataremos Rusia in extenso, estoy seguro, pero yo creo que también tenemos que analizar otras, como es la ciberseguridad y como es la desinformación, que cada vez ataca mucho más a nuestras democracias. En España lo conocemos perfectamente. La desinformación corroe nuestras democracias, la desinformación busca dividir a nuestras sociedades y a nuestros ciudadanos, y por eso es una amenaza que la OTAN debe de enfrentar directamente. Mantuve varias bilaterales con mi colega turco, donde analizamos la situación en Siria muy en detalle, y también el resto de la situación en Oriente Medio y la situación en Ucrania de la seguridad euroatlántica, con Polonia, donde analizamos las perspectivas del nuevo grupo G5+, que hemos arrancado hace muy pocos días y del que España es parte, Polonia también. La primera reunión tuvo lugar en Varsovia, y cómo la voz de Europa tiene que oírse también desde el punto de la seguridad y la defensa, mucho más en este nuevo contexto que se abre para la seguridad euroatlántica. Finalmente mantuve dos bilaterales